I brought home a report card and I had a C in reading. And my mother looks at the report card and she looks at me and she says, son, if this is your best, we'll accept it. And then she said, but if it's not your best, and she paused. And again, I now know that as a pregnant pause. And she said, son, please. And in her pleading was something that was very profound to me. When I moved from Dominica to St. Croix, I was 8 going on 9. And we were in St. Croix for a little while, then Hurricane Hugo hit. And so I went to Boston. And when Boston, I was 9 going on 10. And then going back to the Virgin Islands, or back to St. Croix in particular, I guess I turned 11, or it's just before I turned 11. I lived in St. Croix from 11 to 18. I came to Birmingham a couple months before I turned 19. And, I'd go back and forth, obviously, during the school year. And I've been living here since, or I guess year-round since 2003. Going from Dominica, where I spoke English and Creole primarily, my news came from the BBC World Service, and my world was one where I could roam, and I can go anywhere in Dominica and feel like I'm at home. Everyone in my village knew me. Moving to the Virgin Islands was a bit of a shift. It was more of an American culture than, I guess, what I was used to. But it was also a little melting pot. There was the influence now of actually learning to speak Spanish and going through that process, and then developing the ability to speak a bunch of different dialects. And I still think about this today, because when I first came here, my experience at Sanford was a little bit different. The food was different, and people spoke differently. And every time I opened my mouth, somebody said, "Say that again." And it was a little frustrating because I was like, "Well, you can understand me, can't you?" He said, "Well, I like the way you talk." I said, "Well, okay, I like the way you talk. I don't ask you to repeat yourself." And so slowly, I just started turning my accent off. It seemed to me to be more of a distraction. Because I sounded different, it became a barrier to actually paying attention to the substance of my conversation. There was a basic geography lesson every time I told someone where I was from. And on top of that, then there was a lesson in terms of history and why I actually didn't need a passport to come here, why I didn't have to fill out whatever foreign educated documents they needed me to fill out because I graduated high school in the US Virgin Islands. And that was kind of foreign to people. And I keep a map on the wall in my office so that when people don't have an idea of where I'm coming from, I can just show them the map. People don't take the time to see one another. I just interviewed for a job in the mailroom, or I'm the CEO, you have no idea. And so you judge me based on what you can see. But the sky looks blue to you, right? And that's the reality. The sky looks blue to you because that's what you can see, that's your perspective. What if you didn't see my melanin? What if you didn't see the thickness of my lips? What if you weren't uniquely aware of the way I articulated my words? We identify with things like being either, liberal or conservative, Christian or Jew, whatever. We identify those things, but we seldom identify with our human experience. We seldom identify with our humanity. I can travel the world, and I can always be different. I can travel the world and be comfortable in my skin because I see myself, and I make every attempt to see people that I interact with. And because I have had the experiences of not being seen, the experiences of being lumped in or broad brushed, marginalized, those experiences allow me to see life differently, to treat people differently, and to actually see people. That's really, I think, what my culture represents. Is if I gave you rice, or I gave you saltfish, or I gave you green banana, or I gave you plantains, like, what could you do with it? You know, could you make wine with plantains? Could you fry it? Could you make tostones? What could you do with it where it's different every day? Like, I mean, there's so many things that come from the struggle, but not really the struggle. I think the better word is the experience, the opportunity, and the experience of taking what little you have, taking what raw material exists, and doing something with it, doing something unique with it, is the experience I feel that my culture gives me. Part of my foundation is my mother, a foundation of belief in my abilities, and that I have to do my level best, no matter the task, no matter the situation, no matter if the odds are stacked against me, if the odds are in my favor, I still have to do my level best. I used to say that my mom made a sacrifice, but it wasn't a sacrifice. My mom made an investment. That investment allowed me to chase my dreams. That's the soul and heart of the woman that raised me. And it also allowed me to develop this feeling and this process of approaching life where I'm not leaving a legacy whenever my time here is done, but I'm actually living my legacy.